I want to start off with let's acknowledge the I guess like the elephant in the room, which us being from here in Austin, grew up in Texas, but both from Mexican backgrounds. Me specifically, my parents are from Guadalajara, and I'm very
Chihuahua.
He's from Chihuahua. Always been very close and affiliated to the world of soccer in Mexico. It's been it's always held a close place in my heart. Grew up watching Liga MX. Grew up seeing the league and seeing how, just how it's changed throughout this whole time, specifically in these past 2 decades. And we had a big major event happen this past weekend with the events that happened in Queretaro when they faced off against Atlas. And I guess for people who watch us that don't really involve themselves in Liga MX, for context, Queretaro played against Atlas. They hosted the defending champions of Liga MX. And a brawl broke out. It got to the point where people who were trying to keep themselves safe from the action in the stands had to run onto the field for safety. But eventually that chaos simmered into the field as well. And it essentially just became a huge all-out brawl where people were getting hurt, severely injured, players, families, all just honestly like running for their lives because a lot of people were getting attacked. People who were already down on the ground continuously getting hit and beat up.
Brutal, man.
It's just absolutely
brutal, where there's no place for that type of bullshit in this beautiful sport. It's ugly, man, and it got really ugly that day.
It just reached an unprecedented level that I don't think we've seen in Liga MX history before. What sucked is there wasn't a lot of security either. There wasn't a lot of a police presence.
What was weird was watching the broadcast live. You kind of see it all unfold, but it's just a wide shot, so you don't really see all those little pockets of the brutalities that actually occurred. But yeah, you slowly start seeing crowds just go down to the field. It's kind of shifting, just avoiding the danger, which is just
trying to be safe.
So bizarre to see. But not only that, what was just as equally bizarre was there was no security.
Dude, none.
I've never seen a crowd of people invade the pitch in this way and just stay there. Usually when that happens, there's some sort of security force that goes out there and shepherds people. And like, hey, you got to go this way. We got to get out of here. You're not supposed to be on the pitch. Something, but nothing happened. And it was addressed post-match. Obviously, a lot of the officials were saying like, hey, we recognize that there really wasn't any security because apparently in Mexico, it's private security for every club. So it just depends on who the club hires, which is interesting. Maybe that changes now. I don't know. But a lot of people are saying also that like they're going to have to start like face recognition to allow fans to get in the stadium. It's just crazy. It's crazy that is what Mexico has to go to avoid this.
I guess I want to speak about this in a more personal level because it's very representative of just kind of the times that the country is in right now. Mexico itself is not in a good place.
It's not.
Economically and also just the people. Times are very hard. There's a time where I used to visit every year to Mexico growing up. I would go every year. Nowadays, it's once every 5 years, purely out of safety, purely out of the idea that, we got to be cautious when we're in the country. And so we're seeing that happen in its own league where it's becoming more risky to go to these games. And the federation has to up their security, has to change a lot of the rules and a lot of the way they go about things now in order to keep people safe. I want to talk about the sanctions that have been put on Queretaro and Atlas for what happened, because the implications of this are going to be huge across, Liga MX. Queretaro first now has to play behind closed doors for an entire year.
Makes sense.
An entire year just behind closed doors.
Makes sense.
This applies to like the women's team they have as well. So like just across the whole franchise.
Yeah, just the whole franchise, club. This whole stadium. Yeah, no fans.
Obviously for that match, Querétaro forfeits it and they lose 3-0 for that match. A $70,000 fine, which I think was about 1.5 million pesos.
Okay.
The ultras for Querétaro have been banned for 3 years. So that's a long ass time. They're gone for a long time. And it's like they have a whole process now of figuring out if you are a proper ultra. And you got to have like credentials now.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, which in a way, I actually agree with now because it's frustrating how much violence has correlated with the ultras when it comes to Liga MX now. Because you almost not expect it, but it's frustrating that it has that relationship now.
Yeah.
So the only way I can see this, and they might even spread this league wide, where they say, look, if you want to be in that section of the stadium, we have to know who you are.
Yeah, almost like a background check to be there. Those ultras as well are not allowed at any away games for the foreseeable future. There's no length on that from what I read. Yeah. And then the owners are actually involved in this as well. The owners must sell the team by the end of 2022. They've really put pressure on them. I think I don't know what role
the culture
they played.
maybe.
Yeah, it's just a change of culture for Querétaro.
Yeah.
They are currently also barred from Mexican soccer for 5 years. Those specific owners that are involved.
The owners, yeah.
It's just a matter of time and seeing how it actually impacts the league and the club itself. Will Querétaro even be in Querétaro anymore? Or is there a chance that club gets sold?
Gets moved. There's a big chance. I mean, the Querétaro itself technically is actually already a moved franchise, so they might just move again.
Yeah.
Which definitely easily could happen, especially in Mexico when stuff like this always happens. Either the club just goes under or something brutal like this.
Do you think this has an impact on Mexico's hosting in 2026?
I don't think so. Namely because there's always a separation between club and international team, at least, especially how they're viewed in the media, right? None of the Mexican international players none of this is on them, right? None of this is on necessarily the Mexican Federation. For me, I solely see this as this is on Liga MX. Yeah. And I think that's how it'll be played. Violence has no fucking place in football, man. And it's tough. But even going beyond this specific case, I've kind of seen this personally, this violent connotation correlated with football myself. So I've been at ground zero. I've been to El Salvador, Colombia, and Brazil, the places where football is king. And every single one of those countries, when I talk to the locals about football, because I'm so passionate about it, first thing I ask them is, hey, what's your favorite club? Like in their country. And I would say 50%, so literally half of every average local I talk to, they hate football. They hate it. Because the first thing they say is like, oh, you like football? Hey, it's dangerous here, man. It's dangerous.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Because here in the States, man, like, parents love sports.
Yeah.
Hey, my kid's got an arm.
Yeah.
Hey, my kid plays club my kid plays club soccer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But over there, man, it's completely different. I remember when I was in Brazil, and every day I interacted with like the same 20 Brazilians. And the first thing I said was like, hey, I want to go to a game. I want to see the local team play. I was staying in a city called Recife. Shout out Recife, Olinda, neighbors, love you guys. State of Pernambuco. But either way, the first thing they told me was, don't go to a game.
Really?
And I was so positive to go. I was like, hey, I want to go. How do I get tickets? Yeah. And they're like, oh, I haven't been to a game since I was like 6 years old. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I just want to go. I ended up getting a ticket for myself and some of my friends, but none of the Brazilians actually went with me. And I noticed that it's the same connotation when I went to Colombia and El Salvador. I remember most recently I was in El Salvador and I talked to one of the guys who was showing me around. And first thing I said was, hey, I'm actually here to see the final, Alianza against FAS. And he was like, oh, cool. I remember playing soccer back in the day. But he talked about it as if it was something he had given up. Like he had like an alcohol abuser.
Grew up out of or some shit.
Yeah, like you abuse alcohol and you finally are abstinent from it.
Yeah.
That's how he talked about soccer. He talked about it as it was something that he had done in his past and now he no longer does and he's happy that he doesn't. It was almost like he had PTSD talking about it sometimes. It was kind of scary. And he had a kid. He was like, yeah, my kid's not playing football. Man. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's how soccer is viewed in some of these countries. And it's just crazy because I have so much love and passion for this sport of football. And when it's integrated with violence, there's a disparity between them, right?
Yeah.
Between the people and the sport. Obviously, there are people who love it for what it is, just like us. But man, when you involve stupidity and violence, it can actually hurt the sport in terms of fan viewership. Because now Now the kids growing up, if their family doesn't see soccer as a viable option, it's going to die. The sport's going to die in that country, slowly but surely. Because it used to be something you do to get out of drugs and violence, but now there's that weird connotation and that link with violence and soccer in some of these countries. Very, very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I don't want any part of that, man, because the sport itself is so beautiful. It doesn't need any of that. There's so much to analyze. There's so much to appreciate that just play the game because you love it. That's what I want.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, when it comes to sports, is that they're rooted in tribalism. That's just what it is.
Right.
The thing is, tribalism can become so barbaric, and it's such a tough line to balance.
Yeah.
The line between civilized,
I support my
civilized
people.
tribalism and non-civilized
barbaric,
tribalism. Because it's so hard to do that because one is with emotion and the other one is without, basically.
Yeah.
And with sports, you're naturally inclined to just involve your emotions. And this is almost down to like a human level.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't control their emotions. And
That's
they
the
just,
problem.
It's like, and you know, it's tough for them to be in an environment where they're so passionate, they're so intense, and then they get riled up and then things like Queretaro Atlas happen.
Yes. I think that's exactly what it is, but it's frustrating because it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
It is literally hurting the youth viewership of the sport. I've always said, especially in the last 4 years watching Liga MX, I think Liga MX could sell out every single game at every single stadium because these stadiums are huge. Mm-hmm. The passion is there. Mm-hmm. The population is there. The size of Mexico is huge compared to any country in Europe, especially. Mm-hmm. Even South America, Mexico is big. It has the ability to be like the NBA, the NFL of the West mm-hmm. when it comes to soccer. But stuff like this prevents it from becoming that. Because this is starting to happen every 2 years or so, dude. Yeah. 2 years ago, Atletico San Luis had a big problem at their stadium. 2 years before that, Atlas was involved again with Chivas. Mm-hmm. This is happening way, way too often. Obviously, this time was even darker than it ever has gotten. But this is truly hurting the sport and the future of the game within these countries.
My boys from Liverpool, man, they finally lost a game at Anfield.
Yeah.
They lost to Inter Milan 1-0. Could have gone either way. Liverpool had so many chances. They had the crossbar like 3 times, saw it twice.
Yeah.
Classic Liverpool game, just on the attack, vulnerable on the counterattack as well, but not so much. Inter just had a really good play with Lautaro Martinez scoring a beauty of a goal. Beyond what happened in this game, I want to talk about specifically the take people have on two-legged games where you go through onto the next round because you won so big in the first game, but then the second game you lose. Because people are really hard right now. I don't know specific. People are really hard. People are really hard right now, especially Liverpool fans, are being really harsh on the team for losing that game. Despite the fact
that they still go through.
That they qualified pretty comfortably at the end of the day.
Right.
They got a little nervous at the end, but at the end of the day, 2-1. They're into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, final 8 teams in Europe. And people are being so critical of this specific loss.
I can see the point because let's say Atletico's in that situation where we do well in the first game. Even if we lose, tie, or win in that first game, if we come home and the tie is tight, right now, if we lost the first game 3-0, I have zero hopes. But if the first game was tight and the second leg is at home, in front of us, in front of our own crowd, at the Wanda, we can't lose that game. We can't. Even if we go through, there'll still be a bitter taste in my mouth because I'll be like, what the hell just happened?
There's definitely a sense of bitterness, I'll be like, for sure.
Like, we should, no matter what, we should not lose this game. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we moved on, but we can't lose that game. I get it, just from a pure passion standpoint. Obviously, at the end of the day, you're going to be happy they go through.
I think it's just a taste of bitterness and how you handle that bitterness. I think a lot of people take it more personally and just like
it's personal.
Pissed off about it, and others are just happy that they're through. So that's what happened with Liverpool. Your team facing off against Man United next week.
Yeah.
This is coming off a 1-1 tie at the Wanda.
Yes.
That saw Atletico go up first, and then Man United tie the game up later.
Yeah.
Thoughts on just the Atletico situation going into this huge match?
So in general, I'd always thought this game was going to be tight. But I had Man United. I still have them slightly going through because the second leg is at Old Trafford. Now, obviously, Liverpool lost today, so maybe there's a chance Atletico pull off the win in England. But a lot of what I saw in that first game is what's going to make me scared for the second game as an Atletico fan. Atletico played very well, especially in that first half. We pressed.
Yeah,
we were very energetic. We got that goal early, too, because of that. But other than that, and obviously Llorente had a chance, kind of. Other than that, though, we really did not test De Gea. We didn't really test the goal at all, other than playing very well, keeping the ball well, and being very energetic. Man United come back in that second half, and off a mistake from Reinildo, they score through Elanga. A great finish.
Really good.
Oblak had no chance.
Yeah.
He was caught completely off guard.
For real.
It was an excellent finish. And you could also say Man United really didn't test Atleti, but at the end of the day, they still scored.
Yeah.
1-1.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, Atletico have been so inconsistent this year that no matter how well they play, they leave it open for the opponent, especially when it's against someone good. And I know Man United haven't been good relatively in the Premier League, but this is knockout stage. This is Champions League. United will show up to some respect. And Atletico being on the road, I think will struggle. I expect the same thing to happen. I think Atletico will play very hard. They'll push well. But I think United will just edge them. Just ever so slightly. Now, obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. But what's crazy, going into this game, Atletico have been playing really well. It's got me excited. It's got me really excited just because we maybe had our best half of the year against Real Betis this past weekend.
Okay.
Where we just absolutely went off in that second half. João Felix with a double. Griezmann just feeding like crazy. RDP passing through balls like no other. Lamar's back. We have all of these players back, healthy, ready to go. And not only that, we're all in form. So form-wise, Atletico look really, really good. I just don't trust the inconsistency that we've seen this year. And since it's Champions League on the road, I think this shit is truly 50-50. Flip a coin, and that'll decide who wins this game. Honestly.
Yeah, if you look at it from Man United's perspective, too, they have a chance now to progress to the final 8 in Europe with a game at home against an inconsistent team.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they have everything set up for them to finally show up for something this season.
And I think they're going to pull it off. No matter how good Atletico have been going into this game, I still think somehow, some way, United are going to pull this off.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll see how it turns out.
Hey, so far, though, I'm 4 for 4 Champions League predictions.
Yeah, you got Madrid.
I got Madrid through. A lot of people didn't have that.
Yeah, you got Madrid through. Liverpool, Bayern,
and City.
Some
easy ones, but hey.
It was that Madrid PSG one. That's the one for sure.
And don't get me wrong, man. I want Atletico to go through, but this is not going to be easy.
Okay. Moving on to the other Champions League that's happening is CONCACAF Champions League that sees a number of teams now in the quarterfinals. Specifically my squad, the one I'm supporting a lot this year, New York City FC, baby. Yeah. Looking great coming off of MLS Cup. They're looking so good, man. Castellanos is on fire.
Dude, he's good.
Yeah.
No, he's truly good.
The whole offensive unit is like really good, dude.
Yeah.
I really like the whole, what's his name? Magno. I love that kid, dude.
Yeah.
I love what they got going offensively.
He's young, too. He's only like 20, I think. Yeah, he's young.
Brazilian boy. Yeah. He's got a good future ahead of him.
Yeah, he does.
Castellanos, though, getting that goal this past week, and they're looking good. They're looking set up to be in the semifinals now.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile,
they're looking really good.
Seattle Sounders pounced León, Liga MX's León. Seattle, I think, completely earned it.
No, absolutely.
Like it wasn't like that. León wasn't on their shit or something.
No. Yeah,
they just were better, bro.
They were just completely better.
But what's up with that? Because you've seen León for a while now. I just kind of checked in on them and saw this happen.
No, absolutely.
What's up with that?
This sounds like a cop out, but just hear me out on this. This sounds like a cop out.
What's up with that?
Yeah,
man?
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
No matter what, any team who makes it to the Liga MX final always has an underwhelming next semester.
Yeah,
no matter
for the most
what.
part. Yeah.
No matter what. And whether it's down to personnel, no changes were made, because almost no changes are ever made if you make it to the final. No one new ever comes in, so there's no fresh meat, if you will, coming into the squad, and just fatigue. It just happens, man, in Mexico. It just happens. And I would love to do a deep dive into the analytics of it, like how badly does a finalist actually do the next season? And I think there's true statistics to actually tell that there's a direct correlation, like direct. So whether it's just down to fatigue, maybe indifference, because they're just like, oh, we just want or not want a title, but we were just right at the finals. Do we really need this? Do we want this right now? Mentality. I think there's a lot of factors that always come to play when a Liga MX team makes it to the final. I'm gonna blame it on that. I really am.
Even with that, we've seen Liga MX teams progress all the way to the semifinals and make strong CONCACAF Champions League runs. Even with that, they usually dominate this tournament.
Well, then the second factor is MLS is truly on the rise.
They are.
I've been saying that for a while now, but what's crazy is that I hear a lot of people say, oh, MLS is definitely on the rise. They'll get there later. No. MLS was on the rise 4 years ago. They're here now. They're here now, man. And I hope we see it. There's a chance that we truly see 4 MLS teams in the semifinals. And, it's not just a chance because the numbers are there. There's a goddamn good chance that it actually happens. Obviously, we'll see it play out on the pitch, but right now it's looking really good for the MLS. But it's because it's been coming.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, this is the first year where I feel happy that MLS is on the rise, because when I look at all the teams between Liga MX and MLS, and I think, who do I want to represent us at the potential Club World Cup if they're, if we had the same old format? Like, who do I want to represent CONCACAF right now?
The best team in CONCACAF. Who would you truly want?
The one team for me is New York City FC, man.
Yeah, I know.
And that's how I know, because I've never thought an MLS team would be that team before that.
Gotcha.
And so I'm just like, I'm rooting for New York City FC, but I'm also rooting for everything that means for MLS, to see them lift up a CONCACAF Champions League and to see them reap the rewards of that in a later on tournament where they get to face off against other clubs. Come on, man. Put up New York City FC against these African teams, against
I'd
these
love to see that, man.
Saudi Arabian teams. Like, let's see what happens, man, because I like how they're set up. I like how they're built. And, dude, they could be the team that does it finally for MLS.
It's my dream to see a really good MLS team play competitively against like a top foreign side that's not Mexican.
We haven't seen it, man. We haven't seen it because Mexico wins every Champions League.
And that's the thing. Step number 1, win the final against a Mexican team. I actually hope somehow a Mexican team makes it to the final
for the
just so we can get MLS, Liga MX, and for the significance it will be when an MLS team beats a Liga MX team in the final. Finally, it's been coming. This might be the year. I really hope it is, because obviously Liga MX teams are still good. Yeah. I mean, they're still really good. So they're going to put up a fight. I'm not saying it's done and dusted for the MLS to win this, but man, I hope it happens, and it'd be dope if it happens. It would be some
MLS shit to have 3 teams qualify to the semis and have 1 Liga MX team qualify, and that 1 Liga MX team wins it.
I know.
That would be some fucking MLS shit.
It would be, but it definitely would be. But again, it would happen because that Liga MX team would be good, man. It's frustrating because I feel like a lot of people, when stuff like that happens, they immediately say, oh, MLS is shit. It's not that. It's just because the Liga MX team are actually really good. And we've said it before. Liga MX is, probably top 2-3 leagues in the West, including all of South America. So it's no surprise that these Mexican teams are winning. But, man, I think it's time for MLS to come through, and, man, this might be the year.
Okay, so I have a fun little, what would I call it, world I want to dive into, footballing world that I want to dive into.
I'm always down to dive.
Because we got the World Cup coming up this year, 2022 Qatar. And we're going to have a new winner. We're going to have a new champion. And it really got me thinking on just like the past 4 winners that I've witnessed. So 2006 was the first World Cup where I was about 11 years old. So I was, more aware of shit and just, actively present. And so from 2006 and on, I saw every World Cup final and I saw the teams that performed in these tournaments. And I was really curious to see what has been the best World Cup team since 2006 that has won the tournament. Okay. We have the 2006 Italian team. We have the 2010 Spain team, the 2014 German team, and the 2018 French team.
Yeah.
All four really awesome teams that won it in their own specific ways.
Yeah. The best teams in the world.
They're the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
The best international teams in the world. Yeah. And it's just awesome because international play always makes for these really interesting groupings of players. And it's just so different from the club level. It's such a special mix that we get to see. And so I want
like pure spectacle, passion, and talent.
Yes.
All at once, all within 1 month period.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's the perfect tournament, man.
Yeah.
That's why we love it, man. That's why we love the World Cup.
And so I want to do a deep dive on each team before we decide on which one we think is the best. Prior to doing this, though, I want to reveal that we did do a poll on YouTube. I released a poll on YouTube asking, since 2006, there have been 4 title-winning World Cup teams. Which one do you think is the best? The number one answer was 2010 Spain with 68% of votes. Germany was second with 15%. France with 11%. And Italy with 7%. A strong bias towards Spain.
Yeah.
Let's look at these squads. Let's dive in deep. Something that I want to point out that I thought was fascinating when doing my research about each one of these teams is that they each have a blip on the resume when it comes to specifically the World Cup tournament. They each have a flaw. They each have a game where they didn't fully realize themselves or dominate. So we're going to start with 2006 Italy, who, man, this team was known as a defensive powerhouse. They only allowed 2 goals the entire tournament.
My God.
2 single goals, one of which was an own goal, and the other one which was a penalty in the final. That's insane.
Holy shit. So no clear run of the play goals.
No clear run of the play goals. None.
Wow.
Italy was a defensive, that's
impressive.
They were so stout. All 23 players that were called up played in Serie A as well. Not a single one in England,
domestic
Germany,
as
or
fuck.
Spanish. Super domestic.
Yeah.
Buffon, Zambrotta, De Rossi, Del Piero, Gilardino, Gattuso, Totti, Pirlo, Cannavaro. Just some names. This was obviously Italy's golden generation. Yeah. Just legends on legends on legends.
Yeah.
An awesome team to root for with just studs at so many positions. Their blip was that they tied the U.S. in the group stages. They tied the U.S. 1-1. The U.S. got a goal on him, and that was the own goal. They actually tied the U.S. They won the other 2 games. They exited with 7 points.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
then, obviously, they progressed on. They won their matches, but I want to talk about 2 specific games that led to their title-winning final is that semifinal against Germany. Honestly, one of the first iconic matches I saw as a human, because Italy went to extra time against Germany, and they ended up scoring 2 goals, one off of a beautiful Pirlo assist, and then an awesome counterattack that finalized with Del Piero striking it in the corner of the goal.
I've seen that
and
highlight.
Just being so goddamn high. Dude, have you ever seen the? And I'll link it for the people that are listening to us. But have you ever seen the Italian commentary of that goal?
Yes.
It's fucking insane, man.
Dude, yes.
Yeah, I fucking every now and then when I get a dopamine rush, I just watch it, bro. I just watch it before I go work out or some shit. I'm just like, I need to listen to this shit, man.
Yeah.
Lo mette fuori Cannavaro, poi ancora insiste Podolski, Cannavaro, via il contropiede con Totti, dentro il pallone per Gilardino la può tenere anche vicino alla bandierina, cerca l'1 contro 1, Gilardino, dentro Del Piero, no! Alex, Del Piero, chiudendo le valigie, andiamo a Berlino, andiamo a prenderci la coppa, andiamo a Berlino.
But an awesome game that resulted in Italy winning and progressing to the final. Keep in mind, they did that while playing Germany at home. Germany was hosting the tournament.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They win the game, clean sheet. They go to the final, which is also one of the most iconic finals that I think I've seen, with the French 2006 team taking Italy to extra time into penalties. Zidane's famous headbutt happened in this game. And at the end of the day, we have Italy winning on penalties and becoming world champions. We got an awesome Italian team that was defensive, that had the mentality of monsters. We saw Cannavaro lift the trophy, the captain the team to the championship.
Yeah. And
that's 2006 Italy.
Yeah. For me, the only anecdote I have of that tournament, I wasn't watching soccer at all at that time in my life. I didn't know what soccer really was, honestly. But I was in Canada, and the World Cup final was going on, and I knew this because there's a huge French contingent in Canada.
Oh, okay.
So the streets were packed with French people. And just like watching the game, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I ended up watching the game with my family, going on to penalties. It was like, I think it was the first full soccer game I've ever watched. Had no clue what was going on. Had no idea.
Yeah.
The only player's name that I remember was Mauro Camoranesi, an Argentine Italian. I just remember his name because his last name was just so dope sounding.
Yeah.
That's how I understood soccer at the time, was just by name. And that's it. I just remember it going to penalties, and I liked that because I was just like, I didn't know what the game was.
Exciting as
it was just so exciting as someone who doesn't know what the sport was at the time. And yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yeah,
06,
you stated before that 2010 was your
it was my
introduction
first
to the sport.
it was my
And
introduction
so
to the sport was 2010
That's the
World Cup.
perfect segue to the next team, which was the 2010 Spanish team. Casillas. They had Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets,
Villa.
Pedro, Villa. And then on defense, Puyol, Piqué, Ramos.
Yeah. Hey, right back Ramos.
Right back Ramos.
One of my favorite versions of Ramos, man. Right back Ramos. That guy was insane.
Yeah.
He was mentally insane. He had no regard for his position. He just knew he was good.
Yeah.
And it worked. It worked beautifbeautifly.
And this team allowed him to have that role.
They allowed him.
Yeah.
I remember during the pandemic, I did a deep dive on the Spanish
for
team.
real?
Yeah, because I was just bored. And I was like, I want to go back to 2010, back to my roots, my true roots. And I saw a lot of these games in full, and I was like, damn, this team was dope. This team was truly dope. Yeah. And Ramos was a part of that.
I think that's why people have such an affinity for this team because I think of
Tiki-taka, right?
Yeah, I think of all the teams, they're the most appealing and it's so easy to root for because of the style of play and also the players that they had.
Yeah, there's a great comment, I think, in one of those polls that said, you know, what was so special about that Spanish team is that they never were really out of control.
Yes.
They never in any of their games, even though every single game was tight, you almost knew that this Spanish team was somehow going to pull it off.
Yeah.
The thing is, they themselves had that belief. They were so offensive, but also so patient. And that's another point that was made, was that they didn't dazzle per se, but they still entertained like crazy because of their style.
Yeah.
It was something we've never seen before.
Their style did allow them to be entertained more.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. They definitely were always in control, but there were moments in this World Cup where they had lapses per se.
Dude.
Let's start with their flaw. Their biggest flaw is their opening game. They're the only team of these four that actually lost a game in the World Cup.
Statistically, if you lose your first game in the World Cup, you don't even get out of the group stage.
Jeez.
Statistically. And they went on to win it.
Yeah. They lost against Switzerland 1-0. And that was just that's a terrible way. I was watching the highlights over again last night just to remind myself. And I was like, dude, after seeing that, to think that you're going to go on and win the World Cup,
yeah, man,
that's something. But I guess that's a testament to their mentality because they just took it.
They're just like, shit, we can do better than this, and they did.
David Villa led them offensively with 5 goals. They scored 8 goals total. He's had 5 of them that whole tournament.
Yeah.
So he was just unreal that tournament.
Oh, David Villa was, he put himself on the radar that tournament as far as like to the world. At that time, like I said, I didn't know what soccer was because it was my first tournament, but I knew that Villa was good.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Yeah.
It could just be, obviously because of the goals he scores, like, oh man, this guy's a cut above the rest.
Yeah. He was just so hardworking, man. Like you could tell he was so passionate, and he just wanted it more than all the other players.
Yeah.
And so that's how he just generated all his goals.
Which is interesting because going into that tournament, I remember reading so many headlines about Fernando Torres, who had, going into that tournament, had so many good years with Liverpool.
Yeah.
Going into that tournament, but was slightly injured, and maybe an injury that maybe ruined his career. But Villa steps up instead. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. Domestically, or at least within the squad, they had all but 3 players playing in Spain. I think Fernando Torres was one of them. Pepe Reina was another. And then maybe, was it like Xavi Alonso perhaps? No, it was Fabregas. Was at Arsenal, I think.
Yeah.
And so, same with Italy. Most players played domestically. And it's kind of interesting how that kind of happens, you know?
Yeah.
An interesting fact is that every knockout match for Spain
1-0
ended up 1-0.
I didn't know.
I had no idea until someone pointed it out. I was like, whoa.
Dude, it's bizarre.
And that's what I mean by like, I don't know if they were truly in control.
That's what I'm saying.
But go ahead.
So during the middle of the pandemic, like I said, I rewatched a lot of these games. Dude, Spain low-key got lucky.
Yeah.
Low-key, purely won some of these games down to luck.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the quarterfinal game against Paraguay.
So I was gonna bring
when
up.
this game is
it.
destined for extra time and penalties, and somehow, some way, they get a late 85th minute goal.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't meant to be, but somehow they get a little lucky against Tata Martino, by the way.
Hey!
Yeah, hey, shout out. But that Paraguayan team was not budging, not budging. And they themselves had some sort of leeway against, hey, we're going to get the ball and maybe push just a little bit against Spain. But at the end of the day, Spain just stuck to their guns. They kept patient and got that one chance. But I think that's also testament to how patient this tiki-taka style was.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
It worked.
Over 90 minutes, it worked. And then going on to...
Wait. Something to point out, though.
Oh, no, yeah.
Paraguay missed a penalty in the first half.
Yeah,
They
that's
missed
true.
a penalty, bro.
Yeah.
I think it got saved. And then Spain had a penalty as well, and they missed theirs.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's
that's
just
right.
luck, man. Like that
Oh my
game
God.
specifically just had the makings of like
not good.
It's a flip of a coin. Just whoever gets it gets and just
Yeah.
goes. 'Cause Paraguay could have been in the semifinal, man.
Yeah.
And
oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
Spain went on off of that game. They went on to the semifinals and they faced Germany.
And I rewatched that entire Germany game, which, by the way, they themselves were on a path to greatness. Even in this tournament.
Germany? Yeah.
They themselves had their own narrative. Like, you could have watched that entire tournament and just watched Germany, and you could have crafted an entire story from that team, man. It was bizarre.
Damn.
They had so many incredible players just coming through the ranks, like just before their prime, but hitting their stride. They had an incredible tournament, and that game too, so even. There were so many chances where low-key, if Germany just maybe got a little bit lucky through the ref, finished their chances, could have won the game 1-0 themselves.
That up to that point, it also looked like the tournament was shaping up for Germany because they had just beaten Argentina.
Yes.
And they dismantled an Argentina team that was good. I also noticed that beginning in 2010, the team that won the championship faced off against the next winner. Spain faced off against Germany. Spain wins. Germany wins the next World Cup.
Right.
The next World Cup, Germany on the way to the World Cup face France.
Right.
France then goes on to win the World Cup.
Ah,
France,
I see.
depending, let's see who they face. Peru.
Hey,
Let's see. We'll see who wins, but there's a chance,
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, that was a great game that ultimately was won by the heart and testament of Puyol, getting that header and winning the game 1-0. Once again, just adding on to what we're saying about them, just mentally having the strength and the patience to grind out a result. That was on full display in the final when they played against the Netherlands. In a fucking gruesome final, man.
Yeah.
Gruesome.
Yeah.
Violent. Almost like some 300 shit, With like the
it's
plays
just
that
a
happen.
true battle.
Yeah, a
It's
true battle.
true battle, a grind.
And it had elements of everything that we're talking about right now. Luck.
The 50-50,
Yeah.
the 50-50 shit, man. I mean, think of the Robin chance.
Mm-hmm.
Snyder had a couple of just outside the box bangers that he could have hit, maybe. But just on this game, didn't. Netherlands easily could have won this game. And then at the end of the day, goes to extra time, and Spain pulled it off. Without going to pens, man.
Without going to pens.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They never went to pens.
Never went to
That's kind of
penalties.
crazy. Think of how Italy had to go through that, and the upcoming teams that we talk about also did too.
Yeah.
I think. Kind of crazy, man. Kind of crazy, but you also have to add in the performances in the 2008 Euros and the 2012 Euros where they were incredible.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what makes up the allure for this.
The Spanish
specific team.
dynasty.
Yeah,
right.
The Spanish
They're winning
dynasty,
3
the Spanish
international tournaments in a row. I don't think it's actually ever been done before, honestly.
Yeah.
So definitely that. But also the idea that at the time Messi, Ronaldo were going through Barcelona and Real Madrid at the time, so La Liga was really on the spotlight. And so for them to have a mainly domestic team win the tournament, I think really put people on La Liga, and I think that's why it's also still fondly remembered as such a great team.
Yes.
Because there's that somehow Messi affiliation to the league, Ronaldo affiliation, right? When you think La Liga, you think of those two players, even now. So, yeah, I think that's still why they're fondly remembered. But as we'll get on to it, I don't think they're the best team out of these four.
Okay. All right.
And we'll keep
Let's
going.
continue. We move on to 2014 Germany playing in Brazil
What a World Cup.
What a World Cup, man.
God.
We've never had a bad World Cup. Just
No,
point
that's
that
the
out.
thing.
Since 2006, there hasn't been a bad World Cup.
Oh, man. They've been so entertaining.
Germany, stacked. Few names. Neuer, Hummels, Schweinsteiger, Ozil,
Götze.
Klose, Muller, Lahm, Kroos. Just a few names. Just something for you to dabble with.
Just studs at every position, basically.
Studs, but like disciplined players.
Yeah, like you wouldn't say flair, you wouldn't say tiki-taka,
No.
but you would say incredibly technical.
Yes.
Decisive to the degree, like a surgeon picking
Yeah.
apart like their opponent.
Yeah. Merciless, emotionless.
Yeah, robotic.
Robotic, dude.
Yeah, robotic.
They had everyone but 6 players played in Germany.
Okay.
The rest were like at Real Madrid, Barcelona,
It's
or
like
some other shit.
2/3 of the team domestic.
Yeah, 2/3. 2/3. Thomas Muller, who turns into God in World Cups. A god.
Yeah.
What David Villa was for Spain in the World Cup, that's what
Yes.
Thomas Muller was for Germany.
Yeah.
So involved, so clinical, and just the heart of the team offensively, man.
Yeah. What's crazy about this German team is this is going to be a hot take to an extent, but I think they only got tested once before going to the final. One time.
Okay.
And they had
Elaborate.
three group stage games. So Portugal,
Yeah, no,
we don't talk about that
they
game.
Dominated.
It was just it wasn't even a contest.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that game because I was a big Portuguese fan just because I like their jerseys and
Yeah.
I like their players. Reynoso, Ronaldo, obviously. Man, they got manhandled. Portugal got manhandled. Germany picked them apart. Then
Portugal had an awful tournament.
Oh,
man.
they're terrible.
That was awful. That was a bad day for Portuguese people.
Bad, dude. It was really, really bad. Then they had the U.S. and Ghana in the rest of the group. And for the most part, like, they didn't seem troubled.
I don't know. They had to grind out a 1-0 result against the U.S. and then they tied Ghana.
But at that point, I don't think they were ever similar to the Spain point. I don't think they ever were really in trouble against the U.S. or against Ghana.
Dude,
I really do
Ghana
mean
was
that.
up 2-1 on them. They had to get a result in the last 20 minutes. That's being up against the wall for sure.
But
for sure.
it never seemed like it. I don't know if okay, let me try to explain that. Result-wise, sure. But then you could say the same thing about Spain being 0-0 for 90, 80 minutes. You could say a similar thing like, are Spain actually dominating if they're not scoring? You could say very similar things.
Okay.
For me, that's how I saw this German team. Sure, maybe they're letting their opponent penetrate them, but at the end of the day, I saw this German team as truly just going to win the game at the end of the day. I never saw this German team losing. Mm-hmm. The only time that I saw them losing was in the round of 16 against Algeria, which is crazy to say because Algeria had no right to play so well against Germany.
Oh, dude, they played the best game that country has ever played in the World Cup, man.
Exactly. And it was crazy. It took a 120th minute goal for Algeria to lose out. Mm-hmm. Brutal way to go out. That was the only time where I actually thought Algeria were better than Germany, or a team was truly better than Germany. But at the end of the day, they still somehow pulled it off. Yeah. They go on to face Argentina and...
France.
France.
That was easy for them. Yeah.
So disappointing.
That was disappointing.
France was horrible.
That was such a boring game. I remember
it was terrible.
They just took care of business.
Yeah, they got an early goal, I think, through Hummels, right?
Yeah.
I think in the
header.
15th minute. Yeah. And again, just saw the game out. Mm-hmm. France were too scared to really attack them, or maybe just didn't know how.
They're young.
And that was it. Yeah, they were. Yeah. I mean, it was a young Griezmann, too. I remember that.
Yeah, and Pogba and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I never saw this German team struggle until the round of 16. Truly struggle.
Okay.
And then I guess we get to the final, where they face Argentina.
Well, the semifinal. Let's just talk about that.
Oh,
that's a huge. That's iconic. That's just like that has to be mentioned.
I guess.
The Brazil Germany debacle.
Yeah.
7-1. I mean, if they weren't they weren't tested in that game, but they fucking manhandled and
I still don't know what happened.
Abused Brazil.
I still don't know what happened in that match.
I feel like that was the type of game where that's some Rick and Morty shit, man. Like where we saw like a
alternate universe
type shit. Like it just happened. Like we are that universe.
Yeah.
That let me know that we're not on the normal timeline. We're on something slightly off kilter.
Slightly off kilter for sure.
Yeah, because 7-1 Brazil in Brazil. Dude, the highlights are like low key. It's like it should be criminal to watch those highlights because it feels wrong to see Brazilians be that hurt, that emotionally defeated. It feels really fucked up to watch that, man.
It really is fucked up because you see the way the Germans react, and they're not even happy. They're just like, their reaction was, we do this on a daily basis.
And I think that actually made it worse, man.
Yeah.
Like
imagine if they were happy after scoring every goal. I would have been like, oh, good for them. But they after goal after goal, they're like, yeah, this is what we expected.
Yeah. Professionalism. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. We're just taking care of business.
We're taking care of business. And that was scary.
It was such a deadly German team, man. And that adds to it. That's salt to the wound. Yeah. They make it to the final.
Fuck that Brazil team, though.
And they they make it to the final, and they face off against Argentina.
This game, for me, was very similar to the Spain-Netherlands game where it was actually 50-50. If Lautaro Martinez was playing instead of Higuaín or Rodrigo Palacios, maybe Messi lifts that trophy at the end of the day.
Don't say that, man.
Yeah.
That just sounds painful, man.
But unfortunately, they didn't have Martinez or Dybala in front. Instead, he had Higuaín, right? Who was a good player, but man, in that game just was not.
Yeah, scuffed it, man.
Scuffed it. And that's what it came down to, honestly, was just poor finishing for Argentina. Goes to extra time, and Götze gets the winning goal. It was a beautiful goal.
Super Mario. Yeah.
It was Super Mario. Beautiful goal. And Germany deserved it. I mean, they still had their chances too. But again, that game for me was truly 50-50 in the sense of chances. Germany, at the end of the day, I thought were the better team throughout the entire tournament. Yeah. So overall, very happy that Germany lifted that trophy at the end of the day because I thought they were the best team in the world.
I thought Germany was so dominant, man. That's what I saw. I saw such a dominant side. Leading up to, having seen 2 prior World Cup winners, I thought this was the most dominant of those 3. Not to say they were better, but they were just better about finishing off their opponent in such a cold way. And that stood out to me. The way the players played, we pointed that out. They were so technical, emotionless almost. Yeah. That it gave a different aura. It gave a different vibe when you saw them lift that trophy. And so I remember at the time just being like happy with, and that's the thing with all these World Cup winners, that I'm actually content with them, and in the sense that they deserved it. It's not like they
got robbed.
It's not like another team was more deserving. Right. The ones that did win it, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, I'm happy with it. Yeah. And so that was Germany. Lastly, before we decide which one was the best of these 4, we have the most recent World Cup title holder, the 2018 French team that won in Russia. This team was filled with Griezmann, Pogba, Mbappe, Pavard, Kanté, Umtiti, Varane, Hernandez, Lloris. To me, one of the most non-controversial World Cup winners.
Yeah.
And every game that they won, every result that they pulled off just made sense to me. Yeah. It just did. There wasn't a single matchup where I was like, man, they even got lucky. Maybe the only one I would say that would be the game against Peru, where the only reason they won was because of a deflected ball that landed on Mbappe's head or feet, and he just finished the shot. Yeah. And that's it. The rest were just straight up, we are better than you. Yep. We're going to show you. We're going to dominate the game. We're going to take care of business, and we're going to move on to the next round.
Where Spain lost the game and won the rest of them 1-0, where Germany had to take it to the death against Algeria and get a little lucky against Argentina. Mm-hmm. France experienced none of that.
No, none.
None of that. Every single opponent they faced was met with pure domination and just, we're better than you, as you just put it. Yeah. Even that Peru game where, maybe they got lucky on the finish, I thought they were better. I didn't want to admit it because I was so for Peru that tournament. Yeah. But I was like, damn, this France team is so good. Like, they're just so good. And you could say that Argentina game was interesting because it was so high scoring and it was very tight scoring wise. But for me, France was still miles ahead of Argentina.
The game was 4-2 at one point.
It was 4-2, and it took a late goal to make it 4-3.
4-3.
Exactly.
And so I think there was always just that gap between both teams, I think.
Yeah, and the thing is, France was down in that game, I think 2-1 at one point. Yeah. But again, even in that moment, I was like, France are the better team. They should not be losing this game, and they ultimately ended up winning it. Mm-hmm. And that's the point I'm getting, is that, like, for me at the end of the day, this team is the best out of these 4 that we've said. This is the most dominant team out of all 4 of these. Simply because even if they had played maybe slightly better teams along the way, I still think it would have been the same outcome. I really do. Wow. I don't think there was a team at that tournament. I didn't expect that. There's not a team at this tournament that would have actually challenged them, because at that moment, every single player in that team was in their prime and in form.
Yeah.
And they could not be stopped.
They couldn't get beaten. A lot of people would say that I was reading this on you. A lot of people were saying that the final for them was the game against Belgium. That was the final in that sense. That ended up just 1-0.
And I thought Belgium underwhelmed in that game. And I know a lot of people were really proud that Belgium got there. Mm-hmm. I wanted more from Belgium in that game.
No, same.
I wanted Belgium to win that game, because that would have completely vilified, glorified all the hard work that that Belgium have been doing for the past 8 years. It would have finally culminated in a huge win against France. And instead, it was very similar to
like when you just meet up with a better opponent and you just kind of pipe down.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Because they had just beaten up
exactly what
Brazil.
happened.
The game against Brazil was one of the most like incredible displays I've seen, because I was like, that was a
Belgium
we have arrived
incredible
moment.
Yes.
I was like, Belgium just beat a good Brazilian team. They got completely outclassed by Belgium. Belgium looked incredible that game.
And I thought it was going to be even against France.
Yep.
Truly even, where it's just back and forth. Who's going to win this? But even though scoring-wise it was tight, France dominated, man.
France dominated, yeah.
Belgium literally could not get more than like 4 or 5 passes together, man. It was just, they got outclassed.
Yeah. No, I think there's an argument here for the French team being the best team in terms of the tournament they put together. Because their only flaw really was when they tied Denmark 0-0.
Sure.
That's the only one.
Hey, that Denmark team was good, though.
Yeah, it was.
They were good.
It was. They made it out of the group with them.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, it's the least controversial team. So therefore, if you look solely at their experience at this tournament or at any World Cup tournament, there is an argument there. So I do hear you out for sure. You are heard. I listened to you. To say a little bit more things about France, they had a rising star in Mbappe who showed up like no other.
Oh my God.
I've never seen a young player perform at that level in the World Cup.
And truly like reach the potential that people wanted him to. People were saying like, can Mbappe like show out in this tournament? And he did. He did.
Yeah. This French team was the second youngest team to win the World Cup. They had an average age of 24.
My God.
Yeah. I think this tournament found those players at just the perfect time.
Yes.
And it resulted in this.
Absolutely.
They played
pure domination.
Yeah, pure domination. Played really fast, plays football. Was what I noticed when I rewatched the highlights again. And I was like, they play really fast. Yeah. They were deadly on counters, and they were also really good at set pieces. The defenders could score. Giroud up top could handle the ball, could hold up play. Mbappe was electric. Griezmann was clinical.
Yeah.
And then the midfield just full of studs. Kante, Matuidi, Pogba. Like the whole team was just so formidable at each position.
I remember being slightly pissed because up until that point, all the World Cups I had seen, the team that went on to win it had a moment where they could have not won it.
Yeah.
And I remember every game I geared up for the France game. I was like, okay, let's see how this team does.
Yeah, it's coming.
That's coming. And every time within like the first 30, 40 minutes, I was like, France is winning this game.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that before in a World Cup until France did in 2018. Mm-hmm.
I think that's why there's less allure attached to this French team.
Yeah. Because it was so easy for them.
Yeah.
It truly was. And again, I know people are going to be like, nah, fuck France. It was a shitty World Cup or some bullshit. This team was incredible. Pound for pound, they were better than every other opponent they faced. And even if they didn't face them, they still would have been pound for pound better than them.
Yeah.
Because of what you said. They gathered these 11 players at the perfect time.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, when I look at these 4 teams, let's recap. 2006 Italy, a defensive powerhouse. 2010 Spain, tiki-taka, electric, entertainment. 2014 Germany, merciless, deadly, technical. Yeah. And then 2018 France, fast, clinical, smart, aggressive. When I look at the 4 teams, to me, the best team is Italy.
Yeah,
I'm on 2006 Italy side.
You like that defense?
I like that defense.
But that is impressive.
That is
truly
to
impressive.
not concede an actual open play goal is super impressive for me. And specifically 2006 World Cup, which is a World Cup I've always called the World Cup of Legends. That one had so many legends in it. To pull that off is insane over over what, 7 games?
7 games and not a run of the play goal conceded.
And then you look that is
insane.
Yeah. And then you look at their setup. It's not like they were just park the bus and not let the team score, and that's how you pulled it off. Yeah. They were very good offensively. They were able to get the goals they needed to get in order to move on to the next round,
as well as just being crazy good defensively.
Yeah,
which we can't actually say about. I mean, I guess we could say technically about Spain, maybe to an extent, that they were very, very organized at the back. But especially when it comes to Germany and France, we can't say that.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I love about international teams. I feel like it's harder to dissect how far the gap is between the quality of these teams. Yeah. It's not as clear cut, man.
It really is.
I think there's an argument for every team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you could obviously somehow pit these teams together, I don't think France would easily win these games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though I'm saying, I think they're the best out of these 4, I still think these would be insane.
Yeah, like
even France against 2010 Spain.
2010 Spain. Who wins that matchup?
The clash of style would be insane.
Insane, dude. And then 2014 Germany against 2006 Italy.
Yeah.
Seeing that match and then seeing who faces off in that sense, that'd be an incredible. If there's a way to ever get that sort of answer,
comparison,
if it's through a computer program that's generated by some advanced, AI that can just figure out what would happen if these 4 teams faced each other, who would come out on top. I would love to know, but based on opinion, our viewers think Spain 2010, which I honestly completely understand.
I won't disagree with them. I mean, they're incredible.
Yeah.
I won't disagree. You could convince me any World Cup team is the best team in the world overall. And the thing is, it gets me thinking about how special it is that the World Cup is every 4 years, because that's a long time.
Yeah.
4 years can go by so quickly, obviously, but in the span of things, especially in the digital age, 4 years is a long time, man. Yeah, man. And we're already seeing it. 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, now 2022. Dude, every World Cup has had a different style of play.
Yeah.
Every single one. And we're about to see truly what I think is the new age of football in 2022. Yeah. This is going to be how 2010 was for the start of the modern era. I think 2022 is going to be the start of the new age of football, because this will be the last World Cup for Messi and Ronaldo and all of these old greats that we idolized between 2008 and 2000 or now that we idolized for the last 12 years. This is it, and now we're going to see the beginning of the new age. This is going to be the start of that. Yeah.
And VAR coming in too, but more established as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
That's
goal line
huge.
Technology.
Yeah.
Just everything seems more set in stone now coming into this tournament, that I think the outcome is going to be really interesting to see. A lot is going to root back to the 2022 World Cup, possibly.
I think so.
Because of where the game is right now.
It's the last World Cup with 32 teams.
Yeah.
So dude, this is it. Like, this is it. Enjoy while you can.
Yeah, man.